Hello, it's Kimball Sargent, your holistic self-care coach, and I'm excited to be here with you today and to talk for our fifth class on living well in a sick world. We continue to go through this pandemic, and there are some signs that look a little bit better, but we are not where we need to be yet. And so there's a lot of talk about when we open up and how we open up and what happens when the stay at home orders end. And there are people who very much want them to end immediately. And today I want to do two things. First of all, I believe that knowledge put into action is power. So I want to help you understand a little bit about why we're doing the stay at home, why it's so important, a little bit more about COVID. And then I want to give you the tools that you can use to protect yourself and your family. Because the one piece that I want every single person to know from this is that there is not a magic pill that is definitely going to cure everything. For a long time, people in the United States have believed that. But your body is like your car. How many cars have you had in your lifetime? When I ask that question, people go from 5 to 30. But you know what? You only have one body. And I'll bet you that you change the oil, and I bet you get the brake jobs done, and you do all those things because you don't want the car to wear out and you don't want to crash it. Well, you've got one body, and there are things that you can do to strengthen your immune system and to make it through whatever comes. And that's what I want to share with you today. Now, I want to explain a little bit to you about COVID and why we're staying home and why there are the concerns about how contagious it is. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to need to teach you something about an R naught factor, and that's an R with a little O beside it. What I'm going to call that is the infectious potential, because since you're probably not a public health person, it's not going to mean a lot to you. But I'm going to compare it to some other infections. So with the measles infection, the infectious potential was 12 to 18. And what that meant, that one person could infect as many as 12 to 18 people. So you understand why we are always so concerned about measles outbreaks. HIV, it's 4. And the flu is 1.2. So people, if you've seen anything about this, you might, we don't know exactly what it is for COVID. But here's how it works. So let's just say that on COVID, that number is under 1. If you can keep the number of people being infected to under 1, you can actually kind of ride things out, and the disease will not spread so much, and ongoing, it'll kind of peter out and go away. So that's what you're going for. In fact, I read something the other day that the R naught factor in England, that they've done a really good job. I think a lot because their leader got it, and they see how important it is, that they're probably under 1. So that's really what we're going for. Now, if you have the infectious potential of the R naught of 1, then that means one person gives it to one person. And with that, it's going to stay constant. You're going to see that curve going across, but it's not spiking. And so that's what we've been working at doing. You see, we started out what I call behind the 8 ball, because we had so many cases when we didn't know, when people were spreading and they didn't know where it was. So what we did was we overburdened the hospital system, the number of beds and all of that. Now, when the R naught, or the infectious disease factor, goes over that, then that's when you get so many cases at one time. And when you have too many cases, you don't have enough ventilators, you don't have enough ICU beds, you don't have what you need to take care of people. So this is why stay at home is so very, very important, because without staying at home, it can be easily transmitted. I think it was Monday, I was looking on it was either WRL or WTVD, and there was an article about a cookout or something that happened on Easter weekend. There were 3 of these in one county. One was a family, the other 2 were friends get together. Out of those 3 get-togethers, at which they socially distanced, 19 cases came out of that. Out in Washington State, when we were just socially distancing, there was a choir that got together. Nobody knew that they were sick, because that's an important piece about this. People are the most contagious before they have any signs that there's anything going on with them. So they all got together, they socially distanced. Out of 60 people, 40 got it, and I forget the number of deaths. So do you see how quickly this can spread? And that's why we are trying very hard to follow these stay-at-home orders. It's not that, well, our governor's Governor Cooper. It's not that Governor Cooper wants to hurt businesses. You know, Anybody that's in politics, the economy being good is good to them. But you know what? If this rises too high and we lose people, when you're dead, your economics don't really matter a whole lot. You don't have to worry about rent or any of those other things. You certainly don't have to worry about your business. So we've all got to work together on this, because I'm going to tell you something else. This is a marathon. It is not a sprint. I think people went into this, it was sort of like a snow day. We're all going to be just hunker down and we'll ride it out, and then we'll all come out and it'll all be back to normal. And it's not going to be that way. The flu of 1918 came out in March, and by summer they thought it was over, but guess what? It wasn't. The troops came home, and I actually learned recently that it was the Spanish flu had helped to end the war early. But everybody came out and they were so excited and they celebrated, and guess what? They got a much bigger wave. And in fact, if you want to know about this, I encourage you to look it up. You can Google it, and you can actually see the initial curve of March and then the curve that occurred, I believe it started in August, but look that up. Winston Churchill said that the history that we fail to remember, we are doomed to repeat. Actually, recently I fact-checked that and found out that somebody else actually said it around in the 1900s early, and he used it for a speech. But I want you to think about that. I want you to think what we learned from the 1918 flu. We don't want to go back out too soon. Now, there are certain groups of people that are at a high risk, and I want to go over those with you today, because if this is you, if this is your loved one, if this is your neighbor, these are people that are at greatest of risk. So here's the thing. Say you're very healthy and you don't get this, or if you get it, you're one of those people that doesn't even know they have it. Because now that they're doing more testing in California, they're finding out that there are people that didn't know that they were sick that tested positive. Their immune system somehow were able to take care of it. And that's something at the end of this that I'm going to be making an offer, because I help people protect their immune systems, protect their families, get themselves in the best level of health that they can. So those people didn't notice. But you know what? If they were out at the market, or they were over at their neighbor's house, and their neighbor is one of those people that doesn't have a good immune system, they might be the person that gives it to them. So here's what we know about people that are very much at risk. And I will tell you that back in February, a public health MD that I was listening to had said that he believed that we would have more deaths in the United States than anywhere else, because our immune systems were not as strong as people in China and Europe and all. And I had some idea that could be true, but somehow I don't think I wanted to believe it. But we've had the most deaths. So what are those risk factors? Well, we're a pretty obese country. 41% of the people who get COVID-19 and have serious complications are people that are obese. So if you're obese, you've got a 41% more likelihood of getting it and having problems with it. 57% of the people have high blood pressure. Well, obesity, we know, is a factor in that. A third of the people that have died with this have diabetes. Well, obesity, high blood pressure, and diabetes are things that all go together. Now, smokers are also a huge risk factor. And in this country, we're having more younger people. I don't know if it's the case, but we know that vaping is more damaging to the lungs than smoking is. So just think about that as a risk factor. asthma, and recovery from respiratory illness. So if you had, maybe you've had a good respiratory system your whole life, but last year you had pneumonia, you are a higher risk to get it. You are a higher risk for complications and to die. And people over 65. Well, we have an aging population, cancer patients and cancer survivors. When we treat cancer, we lower the immune system. It's just the way it works. The drugs we use to kill the cancer, they don't know the difference. And so your immune system is weakened. So you have a greater chance. People with autoimmune issues. The United States just about leads the world in autoimmune issues. So if you have one, then you're at risk. Pregnant women and people who are on immunosuppressant drugs because their immune systems are weaker. So there's a whole lot of people out there. Maybe you're not one, but the choices that you make will affect those people. That's why staying home is so important. And I get it. We're all going a little bit crazy having to be in our houses. But whose life are you saving? It might be your own. It might be someone else's. Now, I'll tell you what the World Health Organization says must happen before we can safely go out. The disease transmission has to be under control, and that means that you're not spiking. It means that you've plateaued and on your way down. I'm going to tell you right now, if you Google and look at the curve in Georgia, it's not there. So if you're in Georgia and you're watching this, I really want you to think about what I'm saying. But we've all got to think about it because, unless we act, we the people, then this thing can get a whole lot worse. Health systems need to be able to detect, isolate, and treat every case and trace every contact. We do not have that ability right now. We don't have it in the United States. I'm going to give great big kudos to Maryland's governor who has bought bunches of testing kits from South Korea because they are getting themselves in the position where they'll be able to do that testing. Hotspots are minimized in vulnerable places such as nursing homes. Nursing homes and prisons are under siege by this. So you think about that. You say, well, the prisoners aren't going anywhere, but that's right. But the people who work in the prisons go home every day and they go out in public and they bring this stuff in. And the prisoners, we know that people that live in places like that, their immune systems are usually not as strong. Schools, workplaces, and essential places have established prevention measures. Well, let's just talk about schools. How easy is it to keep middle schoolers and elementary schoolers and high school 6 feet apart? That's not so easy. The risk of importing new cases can be managed. We're not there. And communities are fully educated and engaged and empowered to live under a new normal. We may not like this, and this isn't going to be forever, but for about a year or two, it may be what we have to do. Again, I said this was a sprint and not a marathon. A safe vaccine is probably 12 to 18 months away. Now, the other way that you can make sure that we're safe enough is 2/3 of the nation, which would be 200 million people, have to have been infected and recovered in order to develop antibodies. We're not close to being there. That would take a year. So limited exposure through the 6-foot rule is probably going to be around for at least a year. Now, what are the things that you need to do? Well, when you go out, and if you haven't gotten any mask yet, make a mask. You can go on YouTube. I'm fully convinced there's probably somebody out there teaching you how to do cardiac surgery. But at the very least, I know you can find somebody that can teach you to wear a mask. So I'm going to put my mask on and show you what has to be, because I keep watching these masks of people that they have a mask under their nose. That is not working. It has to be your nose and your mouth. So your mask, whatever it is, has got to cover there. I also use a mask cover, and this gives it a little bit of an extra. And you flip it behind your ears. So it's over your nose, it's under your chin. So there you go. And this might sound a little gross, but you got to be able to catch the spit. Why did all those people in that choir get sick? Because when you're singing, you're shouting out and lots of particles are coming out of your mouth and you're sharing them with other people. This mask is essential. Now, we keep saying that masks don't keep people from getting this, but I started out as a trauma and burn nurse, and we didn't put masks on our patients that were infectious. We wore masks. So, in some ways, we thought it was protecting us. But if both you and everyone else is wearing a mask, we can help stop the transmission. Every time that you go out to buy groceries, if you are, every time you go to the grocery store, you need to have this on. If you're not worried about you, think about the people around you. It's a gift you can give. Now, we've been talking about hand washing, and that's the first thing you learn in nursing school is washing your hands. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm going to talk about that I don't hear people talk about a lot. If you have long fingernails, lose them, cut them. Cut them short. You can wear them a year from now. Your fingernails are a place where bacteria and viruses and all, they love to crawl under there and hide out. So the shorter you wear your fingernails, the less likely you are to catch a virus under there. But when you wash, you're going to wash your hands, sing happy birthday to me, sing it all the way through. But one of the things I want you to do is when you get the soap on your hands, I want you to go like this with your fingernails so that the soap kind of gets under them. And then wash for a few, if you're washing for a few minutes, but then take your fingernail and go under each nail and you're pulling out what's ever under there. It's a way of cleaning those nails. Do it for every single one of them. Go back, wash some more, and you're going to have them pointing down. It's kind of hard to do that at this angle. Wash them well. Now, you want to get a paper towel and you want to turn the water on with that. You want to turn the water off with that. Throw it away. Get a towel, dry your hands, throw it away, get a towel, open the door to the bathroom with it, hold the door with your foot, and throw it in the trash. That's how you will have the cleanest hands. Now, if you can get your hands on some gloves, I like that even better. And those of you that I called out that said you had a risk factor, you really, really want to be sure that you've got gloves and masks. Now, the gloves do not mean that you don't have to wash your hands. In fact, I would encourage you to wash your hands with soap and water before you put the gloves on. So you put the glove on, you pull it on over your hand. Putting gloves on is pretty easy. I'm going to tell you that this is a reuse. Oh, one thing I forgot. Let me pull them back off. Okay, I'm home, so I'm wearing my jewelry because it makes me feel pretty. And when I'm home, I still want to feel pretty. But when I go out, I take my jewelry off. Now, if you are wearing your rings all during the day, then you want to leave your rings on when you wash your hands because, again, rings are places that bacteria and viruses can be. But I would suggest anytime you go out, you take those rings off. You don't want any other place for a virus to catch on. So you're going to wash your hands that way, and then we're going to get the gloves put on. Because what I want to show you is how to take the gloves off, because that's pretty important. Because if you don't take the gloves off correctly, then anything that the glove has picked up, you're going to get on your hands. So you've got your gloves on. When you get ready to take them off, you will take your finger. See how I've got this in here? And you just pull. And then I'm going to take that glove, and I've got it in my hand here. And I'm going to take my other thumb, and I'm going to go inside the glove there, and I'm going to pull it off. And then I'm going to take it and toss it in the trash. Okay, that's how you get rid of it. Don't reuse gloves. Now I've got my hands. Am I okay? No, I'm going to go and wash my hands. So when I'm out, I always have hand sanitizer. And when I get back in, even though I'm wearing my gloves, I go over the gloves with the hand sanitizer. You cannot be too cautious. My Southern grandmother, Mama White, was full of sayings. One was an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Now, I'm going to tell you something about the mask, and this is a little story, and this is kind of where I'll end up before I give you an offer I'm making. Years ago when we flew, flight attendants always said, if the cabin becomes pressurized, the mask will come down. And they said, don't put one on the older person beside you or the younger person beside you. We're so politically correct, we don't say that anymore. Right now, I'm not an old person, but I'm a lot closer to that than I'm the young person, so I want you to listen closely. And I don't mind saying this to someone older. If you were so busy trying to take care of this older person and this child, and you put their mask on first, then you may die. And if the plane goes down, there's nobody to help them. So you put your mask on first. So before anybody else's mask, when you're going out, you make sure you're wearing yours. You have to take care of yourself first. And then you're also a good role model for others. I hope that some of these things that I've said today have been helpful to you. I am offering a free 30-minute wellness consultation for anyone who would like one. We can talk about any part of the wellness that you would like to talk about, anything, and I'll help you create a plan that is best for you. I don't diagnose, I don't treat, I don't cure. And there is no way to kill the coronavirus, and there is no treatment at this point in time. What I'm going to tell you is things you can do to keep yourself stronger, make your immune system better, and help you protect your family. You can find me at Wellness Solutions Today on Facebook. You can message me. You can also, I have a free assessment that you can get and fill out and do on your own at www.wellnesssolutionsnow.com. And you can also visit my website, which is https://www.wellnesssolutionstoday.com. You know what? You can't walk in faith and in fear at the same time. So walk in faith and know that you have done everything that you can to keep yourself well. I'm Kimball Sargent. I'm your holistic self-care coach, and I want to help you be well. Have a great day.